make sure you're subscribed to Jerk Crispy.
Oh, okay. Anyways, what's up, y'all? Show some most that's the most. Jakesh, go back in that video. Broski? Been a minute, Broski. Why you only be posting this time, man? Or you be trying to get information about these movies and stuff like that. Understandable. But, you might got a life after this internet stuff. But, shout out to Brewski, though, That's the guy. That's a homeboy right there. And it's Swint. We locked in like that. That's the real stuff. But anyways, how Steve Carell reinvented himself. Last time we watched Ice Age, I think it was an Ice Age movie. How not Blu-ray, or something like Scott.
Countless comedic actors have tried to make the leap into serious.
Whatever it was, bro, it was like something. It was something about Ice Age and the Form and other movies and stuff like that. Yeah, I pretty much really liked that movie. So, I really liked it, the opinion of what I said in that. So, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 500. Let's see what's going on with this.
Countless comedic actors have tried to make the leap into serious roles, but few have been as successful as Steve Carell.
We're the problem? No! You know what? You're the one who's doing it! You're the one who's causing it! And you're the only one who can stop it!
Someone that was defined almost entirely by comedy, over time he's reshaped his image into that of a respected dramatic actor. Yet not everyone's convinced. Even now, some still see the same comedic persona, raising the question of whether Steve Carell ever really escaped it at all. Unlike many of his peers, Carell didn't get into comedy through stand-up. His first audience was his mother. Growing up, he'd always try to make her laugh after her long, difficult night shifts as a psychiatric nurse. She was the one that encouraged him to pursue entertainment, and in 1991, he made his first on-screen film appearance in Curly Sue, though calling it a minor role would be generous.
This is the entirety of my part in Curly Sue. You're the head waiter and say Tessio.
Did.
That was it. That's all I did.
This did little to establish Carell as a movie star, but in the years that followed his television career.
That Stephen Carell dude, he's actually a good actor. If he got played in like so many roles. I think did he play that role Virgin? 40-Year-Old Virgin or something like that. That was actually a good movie too. Like any movie that he played is actually a good movie. You can sit down and watch and learn a lesson to it. That's what I learned about some of the actors. They be getting like the most serious roles and they still be like interesting how they could go to different roles like that. Alright, I don't know, man. Don't be trying to play with me like that.
Began to take shape. Steve joined the Dana Carvey show in 1996, and while the series was short-lived, it gave him a platform to showcase his comedic range, and audiences noticed. The exposure led to him earning a spot as a correspondent on The Daily Show alongside Stephen Colbert, Carell's true breakout role.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Carell.
That's where the batteries go.
Yeah.
What type of oil do you use?
WD-40. Do you think that you're an idiot?
It was clear that Steve had a knack for playing characters who were awkward and over the top, yet took themselves completely seriously. It was something that viewers latched onto and became his signature style in the early 2000s. Having built a solid reputation, he started receiving some significant movie offers. Fittingly, he played the rival news anchor to Jim Carrey in Bruce Almighty, which wasn't the biggest part, but something about his performance stuck. And in 2004, he starred in Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Already known for his satirical reporting on The Daily Show, Carell was cast as the dim-witted meteorologist Brick Tamland, and it was gold.
I stabbed a man in the heart.
Damn.
I saw that. Brick killed a guy.
For many, his character was one of the highlights of the movie. The few lines Brick had
what movie this was? It's like, he looked like he was in that movie that boss was like doing like a lot of crazy things and stuff like that, and doing like the drugs and sex and all that other stuff. Like it was actually a movie. Then he ended up going to jail for like I think like a couple years and stuff like that. And at the end of the movie, he was playing tennis. And then after that, everything turned around. I think he was like being a comedian, something like that. I don't know. Saying it was a crazy movie that I saw one time, bro. That was crazy.
Some of the film's best
Damn,
jokes,
it's
and
cold.
fans have ranked him as the #1 character. Anchorman would go on to be a staple of 2000s comedy movies, and being a part of that was huge for Steve Carell. While he
Right.
seemed on track to become just the guy who plays funny reporters, thankfully that didn't last long. One of the producers of Anchorman, Judd Apatow, had his own project in the works. It was going to be his directorial debut, and after seeing Steve's portrayal of Brick Tamland, he thought it would be great to see a Steve Carell movie. While Carell was starring in some minor roles in various films, Judd approached him to see if he had any movie ideas, and together they wrote a script about a middle-aged guy on a mission to lose his virginity.
Yeah.
Around the same time, he received word that NBC was doing an American adaptation of a popular British sitcom called The Office. It had great ratings, performed well critically, and even earned a Golden Globe for Best Television Series, the first British comedy that had been nominated in 25 years, and the first ever to win.
I'm not from these parts. From a little place called England. We used to run the world before you.
It was a series that could have easily continued and made a fortune, but creators Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant believed in finishing the story properly rather than stretching it out. They didn't want to risk leaving on a bad note, so the series ended in 2003 after its second season. But American producer Greg Daniels saw the potential. He liked the concept of the mundane workplace mockumentary format and wanted to adapt The Office for US audiences, though they had to make some changes. The team still wanted to capture that raw, organic feeling of the original, but they recognized that some of the characters wouldn't translate well for American audiences. Ricky Gervais's character, David Brent, was actively unlikable. He was arrogant, awkward, and at times downright cruel. It was a perfect example of traditional British comedy, relying on satire through awkward situations.
I never watched this before, so I don't know what's going on with this one. So I'm just watching how y'all watching this too. Unless somebody could put some information and tell me about what's going on with this.
And social embarrassment.
He knew that the run would be limited, and he could play this guy that was just insufferable and a truly terrible person.
No redeeming features.
Not that we could see.
But the producers felt that American viewers might see a completely unlikable protagonist and turn away. They wanted a lead actor who could be the butt of the joke while also showing heart, conveying emotion, and giving the audience a reason to root for them. Several notable actors auditioned for the role, including Paul Giamatti, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Bob Odenkirk.
Sometimes we probably play hard when we should be working hard, but that's probably my fault, but fire me.
They almost went with Odenkirk, but when Steve Carell tried out for the part in 2003, the choice was clear. He was their Michael Scott.
Michael, we have never...
Yeah, lately I've been sneezing lately. But I don't know. How do the actors feel when they don't get that role or nothing like that? I know they be like mad as a mug. Dang, man, I ain't get the role. Oh, man, I want to be Spider-Man. Yeah, I'd be mad too. I didn't want to play Spider-Man, or I ain't get the role of a movie that I wanted to be in, bro. I'd be mad. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. That'd be like on some real shit. That stuff. That'll be the stuff that make me like mad, bro. Bro.
Never worked in a place like this before. I mean, you are a riot.
The first season of The Office premiered in March of 2005, and it had a bit of a shaky start. The pilot episode's premise and structure was ripped straight out of the original series, which left audiences confused, thinking they were about to get the same thing all over again, just with a new cast. The rest of the season was original material, and the characters started to show more and more personality. It was funny, and had decent ratings, but aside from a few great bits, season 1 was a little uneven. To this day, it's often described as feeling like a completely different show. Steve was doing a good job in the role, but the showrunners hadn't fully committed to Michael Scott's sympathetic side, and it led to some mixed reception.
I play the boss who is completely unaware of how other people perceive him. And he's kind of just an idiot. He thinks he's incredibly charming and funny and suave, and he's none of those things.
Reviews at the time reflected that audiences weren't entirely on board with the show's awkward sense of humor. This is supposed to be funny. It's not good when a sitcom's most memorable moments are those that induce pain. Frankly, it's so painful to watch, you can just imagine remotes clicking all across the country. Like many great TV shows, it took some time for The Office to find its voice, but Greg Daniels had a plan, and in the meantime, Steve Carell was making waves in Hollywood.
You ready?
Yep.
It's me.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin released in August of that same year, and
I know that hurt. I just know that hurt. Like, nigga do, like a dude who have chest hair. I know that hurt, bro. Like, ain't no way. Just ain't no way. That's why I could never just get waxed. I'd rather do that myself. Shave.
audiences loved it.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin was one of the best reviewed films of 2005.
Nah.
It was raunchy, gross, and occasionally tasteless, and yet it was also surprisingly sweet and smart.
The movie was met with both critical acclaim and commercial success, earning $177 million against a budget of $26 million. Carell led the film as Andy Stitzer, a shy but lovable electronics store employee. Andy was awkward and insecure, but Carell's performance made him genuinely sympathetic and charming. It won him an MTV Movie Award for Best Comedic Performance. The iconic chest waxing scene wasn't done with special effects. They set up 5 cameras and captured it all in one take, which made for one of the most memorable scenes in comedy movie history.
It was my idea too, so I only have myself to blame to actually rip my hair out. But it hurt quite a bit more than I thought it would.
Nuanced characters and clever, raunchy humor came together to make the 40-Year-Old Virgin a classic. He was recognized before, but by now, Steve Carell was a true movie star. Beyond that, the movie's success saved The Office. After receiving mediocre reviews, NBC only chose to renew the show because they anticipated the 40-Year-Old Virgin would make it a ratings success, and thankfully, they made the right call. The Office was renewed for a second season, but this time around there was a lot more pressure. The show had to warm viewers up to its characters, produce more than triple the amount of episodes, and prove it had staying power. On top of that, now that Steve Carell was a bigger name, more eyes were on the series, and he had more freedom to walk away if he wanted to. But fortunately, it delivered. Season 2 began airing right after the 40-Year-Old Virgin hit theaters, and it was clear they had taken the criticism to heart. It was a significant step up from the first season, and the difference in tone was night and day. It was more confident in
I'm
its
not gonna
humor.
hold you. I ain't never watched The Office before, and I don't know. I might have to sit down and watch like 5 episodes of The Office and come back and tell you about that. But to that, I don't know.
More relationship focused, the characters were deeper, and most importantly, it embraced its own identity, diverging almost completely from the British original. Michael Scott was still awkward and insensitive, but the show leaned more into his insecurity, making him easy to root for.
I had a few more Dundies to give out tonight, but I'm just gonna cut it short. But there was another Michael in the class that she apparently thought the date was with, so she went out with him on my birthday.
In the span of just one season, the show went from
She thought it was another Michael and went out with him on your birthday. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, she was a cheater in the beginning.
being viewed as an imitation to surpassing the popularity of the original British series. Ratings for The Office went up by nearly 40%, and critics especially highlighted Carell's performance. The show earned an Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series, and Steve Carell won a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Television Series.
I really did not expect this, so I didn't write anything. However, my wife did and handed me something. I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for this great honor. I would also like to thank my wife, Nancy, for her constant support and for being so beautiful tonight. That's true.
As the years went on and Steve Carell became more and more popular, he continued to play Michael Scott in The Office. But now he was also starring in movies left and right. Movies like Over the Hedge, where he voiced Hammy, a hyperactive red squirrel.
Hey, man, shout out Carell, man. Real talk. He was a squirrel? I didn't even know that.
Almighty, the standalone sequel to Bruce Almighty, along with Horton Hears a Who, Get Smart, and Date Night. But at the same time, Steve was also showing signs that he could do more than just play the funny guy. Alongside those, he was taking roles in films like Little Miss Sunshine and Dan in Real Life, both of which blended comedy and drama. He didn't fully commit to anything too serious, and for the most part remained in his comfort zone. He was appearing in films that featured action, drama, and romance in addition to comedy, taking the right steps to avoid being pigeonholed into a single category.
How did I go from, say, playing Brick Tamlin in Anchorman to the guy, you know, just hanging off of an airplane?
That's what they call range in your business.
No, that's what you call luck.
In July 2000,
Call that talent. That is very talent. And you can do all them roles and stuff like that. And you play cartoons, and now they take you more serious because you got that nom with the 40-year-old version. It's crazy.
2010 came Steve Carell's biggest hit yet, Despicable Me. Carell took on the lead role as Gru.
He played the Speak of Me dude. What's that nigga named Group or something like that? Not Group. Maybe the bobblehead man name is with them 3 kids.
The movie grossed over $543 million worldwide. Carell was a perfect fit for a character designed as a comical villain with repressed emotions. By now, he was doing 2 to 3 movies almost every year, and his 7-season contract with NBC was about to end. In 2011, he left The Office. There were a lot of reasons why he chose to quit the show. Ratings were steadily declining, executives didn't push hard for him to stay, he wanted to spend more time with his family, and his film career was clearly thriving. In the 7th season, they gave Michael Scott a real arc. For the first time in the series, he actually grew as a character and departed with one of the most emotional send-offs in TV history.
And I got into this thing totally still confident that everything was fine and we'd have a good goodbye and be friends later. Walked into this room, they called action, and just annihilated. I was annihilated with emotion.
Arguably the most iconic role of his career, one he inhabited for 6 years, had come to an end. With the series behind him, Carell was at a crossroads. He could either use this new freedom to do more comedy movies and maintain his status in Hollywood, or branch out and begin a new chapter in his career. In the next couple years, he stuck to his roots. Some romantic comedies, some dramatic comedies, Despicable Me 2, and Anchorman 2. Steve didn't need The Office to stay relevant. Despicable Me 2 alone grossed almost $1 billion at the box office, and his reputation as a comedic actor remained favorable. He could have kept this up forever, but things had gotten stagnant for Carell, and thankfully, someone saw his potential.
I think it was important for whoever played this role to be surprising in this role.
In 2014, Steve completely stepped away from comedy for the first time with his performance in Foxcatcher. It was a true crime sports drama where Carell took on the role of millionaire and convicted murderer John DuPont. For a story based on the haunting true events of this eccentric and obsessive wrestling coach, casting someone who had never starred in a film like this was a big risk. If audiences saw Michael Scott or Brick Tamlin in the character for even a second, the immersion would be ruined. Director Bennett Miller knew they couldn't risk downplaying the tragedy, so they made Carell unrecognizable.
The mandate with Steve was Steve Carell as a human being, as an actor, had to be unrecognizable.
You go to a match knowing you're going to win that match. Odds are you're going
But
to
you
win.
can still tell this is him because look at his face. It's just the makeup, and he just look old, and he just the cheeks bone and the teeth and the ears and all that. We can still tell. Just got a little fat stomach.
You'll be representing Foxcatcher? You will be representing the United States.
The look, the voice, the mannerisms, it all culminated in a truly chilling performance. Steve Carell was a completely different person, and he took the world by storm.
I was 10 minutes into the film before I realised it was Steve Carell. Again, that's not like to happen now because everyone knows that Steve Carell's getting all this awards. I knew he was in the film. I was watching it for 10 minutes before I realised that that was Steve Carell.
Steve Carell is amazing in this. I would say give him the Oscar now.
The movie garnered critical acclaim, and for the first time in his career, Steve received an Academy Award nomination. He didn't end up taking home the award, but for his first major dramatic role, a nod from the Oscars was a huge milestone. With just one film, the public began to see Carell in a new light. It wasn't long before he started receiving offers for more serious roles. That following year, he starred in romantic drama Freeheld and The Big Short. For The Big Short, Anchorman director Adam McKay brought on Steve Carell as the cynical, outspoken hedge fund manager Mark Baum. He played alongside names like Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt in a story about the 2008 financial crisis and what led up to it. It was a more satirical performance than something like Foxcatcher, but once again, he stood out as one of the film's highlights. It was easy to see that Steve Carell's career was pivoting, but not necessarily on purpose. He admitted in an interview that he wasn't going out of his way to pick dramatic movies. He just took the offers he was able to get. Steve was just along for the ride. But that didn't stop him from fully embracing this dramatic shift.
Why do you want to do drama, man? You're hurting our feelings.
Because drama is like more like you feeling it and sadness and like you understanding what the character is and stuff like that. That's why I like some dramatic movies or drama movie or lovey movies sometimes. I mean, it is what it is. I like scary movies, but I don't like watching scary movies like that because I like most of the comedy, dramatic, and like lovely and funny.
I feel like it's time to have some pretense in my life.
Oh, okay.
He continued reprising his role as Gru in the Despicable Me franchise because it was lucrative and consistent, but he was also taking on roles in films like Beautiful Boy. It was a 2018 drama about a father struggling to cope with his son's drug addiction. The film's serious subject matter meant almost no humor, focusing instead on a 2-hour, often depressing father-son dynamic. Reviews were mixed, but nearly everyone agreed that Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet delivered outstanding performances. Carell convincingly captured the pain of a distraught parent.
Not too long ago, you were reading and you were writing and you were on the water polo team.
Since then, after television roles like Mitch Kessler in The Morning Show and Alan Strauss in The Patient, critics and audiences have embraced Steve Carell as a legitimate dramatic performer.
You're kind of like a serious actor now. Are you ready to do comedy again?
At least for the most part. Everyone seems...
He been a serious actor, and that's the fact that you said, you're kind of a serious actor now. Like, nigga, what movie you was watching now was not a serious actor? Oh, that's all of that.
To be in agreement that he's a comedy legend, but a small number of critics have found his transition to drama underwhelming. He's great in comedic roles and the absolute perfect cast for Michael Scott, but I've never seen him in a dramatic role where I was impressed with his performance. I don't like him in serious roles. His acting is terrific, but I constantly expect comedic moments in every serious scene. I'm not that way with Robin Williams, so it's a bit of a mystery why I can't get it out of my head. Still, he has undeniably escaped from the comedy typecast. The majority of people agree that Carell can do both, with some even stating that they like his dramatic roles more.
Every move, no matter how big or how small, can determine who wins the game.
It's become a pattern for comedic actors to try and reshape their image later on in their career. It's hard to say exactly why. Maybe they feel comedy isn't seen as a respected field and they want to build a legacy, or maybe...
Well, I'm gonna cut you off, Risky. I feel like they don't want to be in that childish mode as he used only take childish roles and stuff like that. We could never take him serious because he always like to use the playful roles. That's why they always go for the dramatic roles and stuff like that. They're trying to get emotional or in the good role and stuff like that.
Maybe they simply grow tired of doing the same thing. In Steve Carell's case, it was more of a natural progression. He didn't have to force anything. Even as he's reinvented his career, he's remained unmistakably Steve Carell.
Hey, that's the boy Brewski. What that boy trying to be? All right. I don't know. Brewski, he always wearing his ski. But anyway, see y'all when I see y'all. Lay y'all to about my heart. We're on the road to 500. Out.